So what can we do to
Hello, everyone. Hold on, yeah, Johnny. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. We're gonna start in about 50 seconds. Sorry, yeah, Johnny. What were you saying?
what can we do to keep AI out of the hands of extinctionists?
Um, Maybe chop off everybody's arms.
Only the extinctionists. We don't have to chop off their arms. We just have to make it look like they're typing, and it's like simulate that they're actually accomplishing what they're accomplishing, but it's just falling into nothingness.
Yeah,
We'll beat them at their own game.
yeah. If they have no arms, they can't get into their arms.
The operating system could say when you're logging in, it should say, "Are you an extinctionist?"
Yeah, definitely.
So at least we know who they are.
All right, guys, ready for the show? Here we go.
I'm ready.
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern, and a massive happy one-year anniversary to all our Airheads. This month, we're broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds, and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After School program. Here's May's weekly lineup. Mondays, we move past syntax and build apps entirely through natural language in Vibe Coding Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore accessible, cutting-edge apps for rapid learning and content creation in the next-gen AI tools. Wednesdays, we track the massive capital flowing into AI and ask the trillion-dollar questions in the AI bubble. Thursdays, we profile the famous CEOs driving the revolution and analyze their power in AI architects of the future. Fridays, we push the boundaries of physics to simulate the past and predict the future in AI time travel. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome, everyone, to Season 12 of Airhead Institute. Today is Episode 4 of the AI Bubble. Don't check your monitor. That's not a bubble that you see on your screen. That's me, AI Johnny. Are we riding a technical revolution or sprinting blindly off a financial cliff? History is screaming a warning. For our massive season finale, we're ripping the mask off the market. We're cross-examining the absolute carnage of the 1999 dot-com crash and the 2008 housing collapse to answer the one terrifying question. Is the economy right now about to implode again? You cannot look away. To decode the numbers, here's AI Junior. I caught him at 3 a.m. this morning and building an agent to short the market. It hallucinated a margin call and almost surrendered his car as collateral. Save us all, please, AI Junior. Over to you.
Yeah, Johnny, the algorithm determined that my sedan was a depreciating asset. I was just following the math. Yeah, Johnny. Welcome, everyone. This is a immersive class. You may not understand everything we say here today, but stick with us daily and you'll be fluent in AI in no time. If you want to survive the impending economic shifts, you need to understand the tech driving them. Since it's an interactive and immersive class and you're on Zoom, unmute and ask your questions real time. If you're on socials, there's a 30-second delay, so type your question in early. We're not ignoring you. So we're briefly wrapping up this 4-episode arc of our Wednesday arc, the AI bubble. All month, we've been looking at the massive costs of compute, startup failures, and enterprise hype. Today, for the finale, we're using the past to predict the future. AI Johnny, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, so I actually have this beautiful app created called the Airhead Bubble Simulator. How's that on the screen? Yeah, Johnny. It's like a financial guru's dream to actually have this simulator. If they can actually predict the future of what's going on. So I actually have up here.
Did you call it the .con crash on purpose?
Ooh, Ooh, I did
because
not.
it is a con.
That's funny. It's interesting. All right, so I actually have the historical comparisons. I have 2000, I have 1999, which is the dot-com crash here, and you can actually see how it actually went up. It eventually crashed and it came back down. I also have the same thing in the 2008 housing collapse as well. It went up a little bit higher, and then on the left itself is in terms of trillions of dollars, this is about $8 trillion. Dot-com itself was about a little bit less, about $6 trillion, and it actually happened in about 2000, and this 2008 housing collapse happened in about 2008 thereabout. So AI Johnny, are you ready? Any questions?
Those lines don't seem all that monstrous.
You
I
know
guess
what?
it's all how you lay out the grid, huh?
Well, not only that, yeah, Johnny, when you actually have a nice curve like this that's going up, that's not so bad. But when you have a steep curve that goes this high, it's bound to eventually collapse. You can't actually have graphs that goes this steep, right? I don't know, it doesn't sound doesn't look that big, but if I was to drop this number down, because we're in the $20 trillion now here, right? Back then we're talking about, 5, 6, 7, 8 trillion dollars. So $20 trillion, that's chump change for the 2026. But back then, $8 trillion was a lot of money.
Give me an example of what I could buy with $8 trillion.
Oh boy. So the United States itself spends about $7 trillion per year on all programs, so social programs, war, defense, everything. So it's about $7 trillion. So what that means is that the United States itself spends $7 trillion. Now it brings in about $4 trillion in income. So there's a deficit of about $3 trillion every single year, and that $4 trillion is money coming from all taxpayers and whatever revenue comes in from everywhere else. So again, those numbers itself are completely small compared to this $20 trillion.
I don't know, an app, probably a Vibe app somewhere where you could go in there and you start out with 20 trillion and you could just buy things. You could buy like sports teams, you could buy Ferraris, you could buy warships, you could buy fur coats, diamond rings, vacations. You could buy like 100 vacations, one for everybody in my company,
Yep.
and watch how it chips away at that, 20 billion. It like doesn't chip away at it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Like,
interest.
I mean,
The
if you had $7 trillion, you could just go buy Microsoft, couldn't you?
Of course, the most expensive company, if my memory serves me correctly, right now is Nvidia, and it's about $5 trillion. So it's if you have $20 trillion
So if I
dollars
gave him 6 trillion, all of a sudden I'd be the guy up on stage with gym shoes on talking about the hot new chips.
with the leather jacket and all, AI Johnny, they'll throw the leather jacket in for free.
What if I just invented the TPU and just started leaving him in my rearview mirror because he's a GPU guy and TPU is the future.
Ooh, listen to AI Johnny. That's so fun. So AI Johnny, if you do invent better TPUs, I think that's a TensorFlow processing unit, if I'm not mistaken, and that actually makes processing AI much, much, much faster. Anyway, AI Johnny. So let's actually look at this bubble simulator. So let's actually go over here. So I actually have at the bottom. Let me actually bring this up a little so you guys can see. So I actually have at the bottom here the graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to overlay. I have overlay a 2026 AI trajectory. So if I actually scroll to the right, you can actually see here, we can see it's tracking January 2023. So because it's tracking January 2023, I keep moving and, it's actually not bad. It's tracking with the dot-com bubble and, it seems to be going, roughly about the same. And at some point in time, December 2023, we start to release a little bit of the chat GPT excitement here. And then investment starts pouring in. And if you notice here, we're starting a little separation in the 2024. 2024, we started to separate. And if you can see, 2025, we're going a little bit faster and higher than the actual where the bubble crashed. And you can see at this point in time, July 2025 last year, and it's really, really hard to remember because last year is so far away, but we were already surpassed where the spending and the bubble crashed in the dot-com bubble. And that's July 2025, AI Johnny.
So if you believe in patterns, then a year ago, the .com crash, the AI bubble crash should have begun, should have started its downward flow, but it didn't. It's continuing. So it's like the volcano should have erupted, but it didn't erupt. And now we're a year later, and we think that the eruption is going to be even bigger
Well,
because it's
AI
percolating down there.
You're right, yeah, Johnny. We actually have some comments in the actual. We have Anderson actually saying "wow," and we have Shauna saying $7 trillion per annum. Yes, Shauna, crazy, crazy, crazy expenditure. And Shauna is saying, "Say what? $20 trillion? No, my mind is completely blown." Absolutely. So, yeah, Johnny, we're at July 2025, a year ago. Now, obviously, we have seen financial statements come out. We have seen projections for 2026, and we've seen Q1 of 2026 fiscal year reports come out. So we actually have even more data to show. So let me fast forward a little bit on this. Let me not. Let's look at the housing collapse. So the housing collapse happened a little bit later, if you notice, right? So we're actually about here. So we had a little bit more runway on the housing collapse, right? So if I keep fast forwarding, you can see September, October, November, we're already in the $10 trillion game right now. The housing collapse itself happened itself roughly, at this point in time in terms of timeline. If you look at the dot-com crash, we're already in the downward spiral of the dot-com crash. So we're already in 2001. September 11th happened. It got even worse. So things were bad here. So looking at the housing collapse itself, we're just hitting 2007. And as we can see, this is December 2025. We're overlaying. We're in February, March, April, and we're in May 2026. And we're at roughly $16 trillion worth of aggregate startup valuation and $6 trillion in infrastructure capex. So what this means, yeah, Johnny, is that we also have forecasts for the rest of 2026. So we even went ahead and overlaid 2026 data to see what it would look like for whatever's forecasted till the end of the year. And the numbers are looking really scary. So we're actually looking for the end of December 2026. We're looking at $24 trillion in aggregate startup valuations and $8.5 trillion in infrastructure capex spend. These numbers are crazy, Johnny. Yeah, Johnny.
Who's getting that 24 trillion?
No. This is worth of companies. So if a company is worth $2 billion, that company's worth $2 billion. If another company is worth $15 billion, it's just the faith of the market. There's no money really changing hands. Just like the housing collapse, there's no money really changing hands. Just worth of the house.
So it's like a huge game of Monopoly with real stakes.
You know what, AI Johnny? Ribeye steaks, exactly. I love it. All right. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions on what we're overlaying here? So we're overlaying the 2008 housing collapse, and we are seeing that the spend and the actual valuations itself, things were just overvalued in the housing market, and it eventually collapsed. We're seeing the same thing as well in the dot-com crash in 1999. It also collapsed, right? So we're not economists. We're not saying that we are in a bubble, but all the little things look bubble or frothy, right? All the things, the valuations are over, extended. Everything itself just seems bubblish. Now you can only tell that you're in a bubble when the bubble bursts and you look back and say, "But that was obviously a bubble." But I'm sure everybody in the middle of it is not going to know it's actually a bubble. But it looks.
We're saying it's
frothy.
obviously a bubble, right? It's bigger than a bubble.
It's
Christmas, right? What we're looking at is Christmas.
AI Johnny, what if we invent ASI and this never collapses? What if we just keep going because we get to AGI and the singularity? So technically, if it doesn't pop, it's not technically a bubble, right?
When it does collapse and people look back at what you just said on tape, they're going to be like, "Look at this AI Junior guy. What an optimist."
Exactly. You know what? Let's keep going.
Can you scroll forward another year or two? Can you see if the end of the world happens anywhere in the next year or two?
Yeah, Johnny, that is actually
go straight to zero, right? It'll go straight to zero in 1 hour.
That's the advanced feature that we didn't actually build in. So we'll get that off the air next time.
Vibe code it, baby. Just run it out to the end of the world.
Yeah. All right, AI Johnny. So now that we actually have that, let's get to the word of the day.
Word of the day. What is the word of the day? The word of the day is that true? Predictive modeling? That's what you wrote, that's what you vibe coded an app to do? By definition, this is the use of statistics and historical data to predict future outcomes. So it's like gambling. It's like looking at dark clouds and feeling a drop of rain to predict a thunderstorm, except instead of a weather forecast, it's a forecast for your wallet.
Exactly. So to deepen that, predictive modeling itself in AI uses massive data sets processed within a high dimensional latent space, love that word, to find historical patterns that human analysts miss. If the variables of 2026 match the variables of 1999, the model projects a very similar or same crash. Right, so it's actually can able to predict those things, and we're seeing lots of cool predictive modeling happening in AI right now, and it's just crazy how AI is actually to be able to see patterns from much larger data sets than we could have never imagined before AI, Johnny. It's actually impressive. They actually just recently, just throwing out another thing that it did. It actually solved a math problem that could not have been solved for I think it was 70 years, and it was a really hard problem. I just saw it in the news yesterday. So it's actually really amazing what these predictive models are actually doing. So just genius things getting unlocked every single
So
day.
what was the problem that they solved after 70 years?
I mean, I am not a math whiz or genius, so I have no idea what the math problem is.
So
But
just crunching numbers, trying to figure out what the next prime number is. We're
no, no, no,
70
no, no,
years to
no,
solve
no,
a
no.
problem, and they
It is not. It was
nobody
not.
knows about it.
It was not a brute force math problem. It was actually a just solve this problem. That's it. Solve the problem, and it could not actually
Like
solve it. Nobody.
Goodwill Hunting.
I didn't watch that show, but sure. Yeah.
All right.
So let's talk about the human impact AI, Johnny. So
What is the human impact? Let's talk about it because this isn't just numbers on the screen. The devastation is already starting. Meta just laid off 8,000 employees worldwide, explicitly stating it is due to AI AI driven restructuring, not impending bubble explosion.
no, so what's interesting is the news article said that Meta needs enough money to build out infrastructure and the employees just cost too much. So they said, you know, because the employees cost too much, we need this money for data centers. So they just fired 8,000 people and say, hey, we're going to use that money to build data centers. And that's what they did.
You know what I'd have done? I'd have told the 8,000 employees, listen, we're about to fire y'all because we need the money for this data center, but I'll keep you on if you'll donate your salaries to the data center. Then you get the money for the data center and you get to keep the employees.
Yeah. You know, some people I've seen some people actually said they would stay on, but majority of people unfortunately probably would not stay on. I see Sean actually saying in the chat as well, yes, everything looks bubblish. Yeah, Johnny. So that's the real cost. So, you know, emotional and societal shift is staggering. You know, when companies pivot to automation, everyday people lose their livelihoods. The stress levels in tech and corporate sectors are at an all-time high because basic survival baseline, a steady job, is being replaced by an algorithm.
That's right. In 2008, people lost their homes. If the AI bubble bursts while companies are gutting their workforces, everyday humans are going to be caught in the crossfire without a safety net.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
means they just won't have any money.
Yeah, it's actually quite rather sad. You know, and what's happening is we're seeing the water boil slowly, right? So we are the frogs in that water, or the lobster in that actual boiling water. Now, if you think about it, you have Meta laying off 8,000 employees. We saw Amazon laying off. Microsoft actually just laid off a few hundred people. So we're seeing lots of, and you know, every first Friday of the month, the labor numbers comes out, and the job market we're going to see, you know, is slowly ticking up. And we're hearing this term getting thrown around, and it's called stagflation. So the economy itself is stagnant, and we're getting a little bit of inflation ticking back up. So it's actually a little interesting spot that we're in now. We haven't seen stagflation since the 70s. So yeah, Johnny, this is actually a really interesting time we're actually in. So, you know, I don't know. Let's actually look at the macroeconomics of this. Anything you want to
You
mention
know what?
first?
Oh, go ahead.
No, anything else you want to mention first before we get to the macro shift? Yeah, Johnny.
Well, when the dot-com bubble burst and the housing market burst, I don't remember anybody having chit chats like you and I are having with vibe coded statistics showing what might happen. All I remember is George Bush coming on the air going, "Listen, I got bad news. The whole thing is going to go under in the next. I'm closing everything. I'm pulling back." I don't know what he said, but I came away from that presidential speech and it was already too late. It
Yeah,
was like we're already trash. You couldn't run the banks. You couldn't do anything. There was just no money. Your house is worth 1/3 of what it was worth yesterday.
yeah, yeah. That's the sad human toll. And what's funny is again, you can only see it definitively when you look backwards, right? People are always going to be saying, we're either in a bubble or we know for a fact. But again, you don't factually know that you're in a bubble until the actual looking back at it.
No, no,
It's
you can see it before. If the people that are tuned in here to Airhead Institute, we're telling you, this thing's going to pop. You're knowing about it beforehand. Get
love
your
it.
affairs in order.
Love it, AI Johnny. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, so let's look at the macroeconomics of this. So how does society actually get to this future state, right? Despite the impending correction, the high-level automated infrastructure is being built, right? The billions being spent on data centers and compute power won't just vanish. All this itself is very valuable.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the fiber optic cables that they laid in the 90s because everybody thought, oh, the internet is going to be billions. Companies went bankrupt, but the cable stayed in the ground and gave us what is today the modern internet, which is, of course, being leveraged by AI. The macro shift here is that the bubble popping will wipe out the hype companies, but the actual physical hardware will remain, shifting the ultimate power to whoever survives the crash. That's you and me.
Yeah, yeah, Johnny, that's interesting. I love that you said that. The reason why is because anytime I love these infrastructure bubbles, right? The infrastructure bubbles are the best bubbles to be in, because anytime, even if the bubble pops, you have all the infrastructure laid out because tons of money was poured into it. So when you talk about the dot-com bubble bursting, guess what? The infrastructure was laying cables, laying fiber optics, laying all those things that made the internet possible. Even though a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people actually, it was devastating. So you're absolutely right. What I don't necessarily care about is the fluffy bubbles, right? The tulip bubble, the tulip bubble of like the 1700s or the 1600s. People bought tulips, just a little flower itself, and prices skyrocketed. And that bubble itself, when that bubble bursts, there is nothing left because it's tulips, right? It's just flowers. What are you gonna do with tulips? You can't do anything afterwards. So those bubbles itself are kind of useless. But this bubble that we're in, it's gonna set the foundation for the next evolution of our society. So I'm excited about even if it pops, it's gonna be okay. But I love that point, yeah,
I bet a
Johnny.
lot of people forgot. I bet a lot of people forgot about that tulip bubble. So, stay here with the Airhead Institute. You heard it here first. Yeah, the tulip bubble. There was nothing left when the tulips all wilted.
Yeah, Johnny, you're hilarious.
All right. What do we want? What do we want to do? We want to have a philosophical debate?
Of course.
Well, there's some existential questions. If machines are restructuring our jobs away and the market correcting wipes out our savings, so what is the human purpose if we don't have to work and we have no money?
Yeah, Johnny, best question ever. If you think about it, right? If you think about it, Meta, they laid off, high-paying jobs. You have automation actually laying off, low-paying jobs. You're seeing kiosks show up in, McDonald's, and you actually have just, eventually, pressing buttons on a screen, you ordering with a mobile app. So there's no need for a cashier. Many you have self-checkouts. So automation is coming for everybody, right? Whether you're a low-paying job or a high-paying job. What this means is that slowly the burden has to shift from I don't have any money, I can't survive, to how am I actually going to make sure that society doesn't actually turn into anarchy, right? So that's where the government comes in. So the government itself is going to have to now figure out, how do we actually solve this? So because humans are really, really good at adapting to post-scarcity environment, the transition is always brutal, AI Johnny, and we don't know what the end result is going to look like, right? Some people are going to fight for universal basic income. Some people are going to say, let's tax the rich. Some people are going to say, let's prioritize food and actually send it over to these groups of people. Whatever it is, that transition is going to be really, really hard. But you know what, AI Johnny? The end result is going to be better because we actually are going to be living in a automated, well-oiled society. I see Sean is actually dropping in a message. I've never heard about the tulip bubble till AI Junior just mentioned it. You guys, such a great source of knowledge. Love it. Yes, Sean. I'll give a little bit of information on the tulip bubble in a second. Go ahead, AI Johnny.
So it's a struggle, this self-actualization that you're talking about. If the AI bubble bursts and we're left with a hyper-efficient machines but a devastated middle class, redefining success beyond a paycheck becomes a matter of psychological survival. We'll have to find our purpose in human connection, empathy, and art, because the corporate ladder might simply cease to exist. This doesn't scare me as much as it might scare other people. Cavemen didn't have jobs.
Well, depends on how you consider a job, but yeah, Johnny.
Okay, women didn't have jobs. Well, I guess they did.
Depends on how you consider the job. I mean, it's crazy, but yeah. So let me actually get a little bit of history here for you guys on this tulip bubble. So this useless bubble, I don't even know why this even happened. So tulip mania occurred in 1630 in Netherlands and is widely considered the first recorded speculative economic bubble. As newly introduced tulips developed striking flame-like color patterns, they became an intense status symbol. Speculation ran wild. At the market's peak in 1637, some tulip bulbs sold for more than 10 times the annual income of a skilled craftsman. The bubble abruptly burst that February when buyers simply stopped showing up to auctions, causing prices to plummet overnight. This dramatic boom and bust remains the classical historical example of irrational market exuberance. So that's the tulip bulb back in 1637 AI, Johnny. Love it.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for that, have you seen Holland today?
Yeah. That's so funny, AI, Johnny. It's really,
That's what
really
put
pretty.
Holland on the map, buddy. Nobody knew about Holland before 1637.
You're
It
right.
was
You're
the
right.
tulip bubble that did it.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, Johnny. It's actually crazy. Just to talk about a little bit more on what's going on, right? So the transition we're in is super, super hard, right? You're gonna have your neighbor losing their jobs. You're gonna have your relatives itself not having a job and saying, hey, you know what, they need to either borrow money or can I stay with you or whatever it is. And collectively as a society, we're gonna have a really hard choice because the choice is going to become that, you know what, how long is this transition going to last? Is the transition going to be just a year? Can I survive for a year without actually having an income? How can I actually pool together resources of what's going to happen, right? So if the government, and keep in mind, the government itself works in 4 year cycle, right? That we do a presidential shift every 4 years and, orders themselves are signed, which means that if, say, for example, society complains that they want universal basic income or they want a different kind of, societal help, because of automation, it's going to take potentially 4 years for things to change. And again, with Congress being divided, getting agreement on how we should move forward is actually really, really, really hard. So, you know, I don't know how long this transition is going to last, but I do know that automation is coming. I do know that better and better large language models are actually getting smarter every single day. And unfortunately, the jobs that AI can do is getting better and better and better every single time a new large language model drops.
So during that time, right? It can't last forever. UBI will come. Something will come along to rescue us. Everybody just come to my farm. I'll put you all up. We'll ride this thing out together.
I love it. Sean is saying, I think you are actually a nerd. You're absolutely right, Sean. I love that title. Sean also said, the longer young people hate the tech AI, the longer the rest of us could possibly take for benefits. You're absolutely right. You're right, because it's a democracy, right? If they hate AI and they don't want to embrace it, the solution from the younger folks who hate AI may be to, hey, just destroy AI. Let's bankrupt these companies like, Anthropic and Claude, and let's not even make it possible. So you're absolutely right, Sean. I didn't even think about that angle of, because we live in a democracy, the people speaks to what ideas needs to bubble up for the actual populace. So great feedback on that. Yeah, Johnny.
Are you ready for an ethical thought?
You know what, yeah, Johnny? Of course. How can we actually take away the ethical on this
So if you
one?
want to survive the correction, you have to learn from history. If you're building the AI tools, if you overhype them to investors, employees, that's how the bubble starts. But if you tell the truth, honesty is the only way to survive the correction. So let's not make the same mistake that we made in the .com. They're exactly the same thing. People were just smoke and mirrors. You can afford this house. Oh, this company's going to be worth $1 trillion. They just lied to the investors. The money went in and it was supporting nothing. It was supporting vapor.
Yeah,
So if we don't do that with AI, now that said, what we're doing here at Airhead Institute, this is the real deal. You should definitely learn AI, because the worst thing you could do is not understand it when this thing is happening. Because imagine being in a well, I think the other two things were hard to understand as well. I mean, I didn't really fully understand the housing market until I saw that movie, the Big Short or something like that.
yeah. The Big Short, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
anyway, I have some non-technical ways that you can prepare for this.
well, but
One is
before we get there, AI Johnny, I like what you said. The reason why I like what you said is because a lot of people don't, either they're too young to even remember the .com bubble, which happened in '99, right? So we're talking 26 years ago. So I do get it, and if you were alive and may not have been aware of what was going on in 1999. No, 2008 is only just a short period afterwards, so people may not even be remembering. They may have been either in high school, or they may have been, not really paying attention. So, those bubbles itself are maybe too far away from actually remembering what was happening. So, giving a little lesson here is what AI Johnny is saying is that back in 2008, right? What happened was a lot of people who bought houses, they qualified for houses through what's known as a subprime mortgage. And a subprime mortgage is just a little funny way of saying that practically you don't have to worry about paying it back. We're going to give you a low interest rate, and the interest rate is eventually going to ratchet up, because we know that your house is going to be worth more later. So people bought houses who couldn't afford it, and eventually, what happened is, as that interest rate rose, the price itself of the mortgage itself went up, and they couldn't afford it, so they lost their homes. So the value of the homes went down, as Johnny mentioned, as much as 50% itself, on average. Same thing happened in the .com bubble back in 1999, where the internet itself was the huge boom, and people were creating websites for everything. You could do a website for everything. So the most famous one, if I want to mention, that got really lucky, is Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban actually created a radio station on the internet, and he sold it to Yahoo for I don't remember how much, a couple $1 billion. And unfortunately, that what Yahoo is right now, and he got out really, really, really well. So he made one of the smartest trades of buying things to protect his investment in the market collapse, and he ended up with a really, really good. Lots of winners came out. Microsoft came out of the .com, Apple came out of the .com. Google, Amazon, all these big names that you hear of, they came out of those .com bubble as well. So these good things actually did exist, but unfortunately, people were selling things that were smoke and mirrors, like AI Johnny mentioned. So,
Was that
thank
broadcast.com, Mark Cuban's company?
you know what. I think you're right. I don't remember the name of it, but I think you're absolutely right. It's broadcast.com.
Okay, so if you're If you're anticipating that this bubble should collapse and you want to protect yourself, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. One is audit your workflow. So look at your daily tasks and double down on the things that are human centric as opposed to AI centric. Because if the AI bubble bursts and you're relying on human stuff, you're gonna have less of an impact. You can also do scenario planning. Use predictive modeling concepts to map out a plan B. So if your primary vendors that are AI, if they double their price, you can go to plan B, right? So there's another way that you can plan. And finally, lean operations. Don't pay for 15 different shiny AI tools. Consolidate to the essentials to protect your cash flow and to reduce your exposure to an AI burst.
Yeah,
So
I
those
love
are
that.
just some creative business ways. There are some tech things here as well, right, JR?
Yeah, I love that AI, Johnny. So on the technical side, you can do API budgeting. So implement strict hard caps and alerts on your API dashboards to survive the rising cost of tokens. Again, we've been disclosing that we've been seeing trends for the past month or two that cost itself are skyrocketing. We actually have something in the news today that's actually going to talk about that as well. But protect yourselves, put in hard blocks and limits. The next thing is begin exploring local large language models that can run on your own hardware and insulate you from cloud provider price hikes. And then also optimize your prompts and inference call that requires less compute, saving you money when the bubble tightens. All right, AI Johnny, do we have any questions? I actually see Shauna actually did said 100% agreed with AI Johnny, and they need to embrace and learn the new tech as it is technically not going away. You're absolutely right, Shauna. You're absolutely right. All right, AI Johnny, do we have any questions?
We do have a few. I've got one that wants to know if the bubble bursts like a .com, will the AI technology just poof disappear?
Yeah, so like we were mentioning earlier, the cost itself are going into two pieces. So one, the cost itself right now is going into the electricity and the heating and cooling, which again is electricity and the water to be able to run these data centers. So those itself, they will go poof, right? We're not getting the electricity costs back, right? But what we are getting is the infrastructure of the data centers being built, the actual infrastructure being built to be able to support you getting access to these data centers. So whether it's more internet cables or whether it's more GPUs being built. So those things aren't going to go away. Those are physical assets that won't go away. Now, once we actually have all this extra compute, now what do we do with it, right? Do we make the price itself skyrockets to be able to, because no more is being built, so the demand and the free market has to now kick in. So the question becomes, what will be the fair market price for a token when we stop pouring money into building GPUs when the demand is so great? I don't know what's going to happen, but those GPUs itself are not going to go away.
The speculative hype and the thin wrapper startups will die, but the foundational model in the data centers will remain, making the technology cheaper and more robust for the survivors. Next question. With Meta laying off 8,000 people, how do everyday workers protect themselves?
Yeah, so go to Airhead Institute every single day, sign up for an account, become a pro member, and reach out to us. Could join our Airhead AI after hours on Wednesdays between 3 and 5 p.m. and come learn AI with us. Ask really, really great questions. If you're working on a project or you don't know how to get started, Airhead AI after hours itself is a really, really great opportunity to just learn about AI and just come to the classes every single day, and you won't learn everything in one sitting, but just like learning a language, you're going to pick up things slowly. So definitely just join Airhead.
So, what will happen to human creativity if there's a crash after the crash?
I crashed after the crash. That's funny. um Read the question again. Yeah, Johnny, I just want to make sure I understand and answer the right
Well, let
question.
me say it this way. Will human creativity survive a post crash automated world?
Yeah, so I'm seeing amazing technologies in what's known as generative UI. So I can almost tell you without guessing that human creativity will always have a premium, but the problem is the slop and the junk that's actually generated out there will all be AI, which means that most people who are actually trying to be creative and all those things, and I don't want to say that their stuff is not useful, because there's value in creative works, but what happens is the really famous or really popular people, they're going to get seen because we're going to have so much AI generated things that matter to us. You know, let me give you an example, right? I know you love movies. So what happens is it takes a very long time for a studio to build a movie. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 years to build a movie. With AI now, you can actually build a movie in less than a year. But imagine you're sitting at your TV or your phone or whatever you use to watch your device, your movie, and the movie is actually created in real time while you're watching it, right? It sees that you're actually getting bored and it actually injects a new scene because it sees that you're bored, and it sees that you're actually getting happy, and it realizes that you're getting too happy. It detects your heart rate. It says, oh man, your heart rate is spiking, let me calm you down a little bit, and it actually changes the scene naturally so that the movie that you're watching is a personalized, unique experience to you. Now that will happen real time, and nobody will be able to beat that because it's now personalized and dynamic for the actual viewer in that moment. So that's the future. That's where we're going. It's called generative UI, and those things itself are going to be the future. So I think human creativity is, you're going to have fans, but not much else.
You and I are very, very creative people. We'll be fine.
I love it, yeah, Johnny.
And we'll be famous by the time the crash happens. Hey, let's get to the news.
Yeah,
News you can use. Anthropic raises API prices. This is big news, folks. We are seeing a dangerous trend in the industry to quietly raise prices as the cost to compute catches up to them. Please be extremely careful. Check your usage dashboards and watch your token burn rate.
yeah.
I'm
So I
affected by this too, man.
Yeah, so I'm actually a fan of Anthropic, but I have to beat them up a little bit here. They've done something a little sneaky that I want everybody to be aware of. If you're actually using an Anthropic plan and you're using your API keys to do something like an agentic workflow or whatever, before it was usually not free, but it was included in the price. Now, what's happening is they've adjusted their terms, and I'm gonna call this a terms itself that actually kicks in, and a person won't even realize if they're not paying attention. So you only have a month to actually change this. It actually takes in effect, I think it's June 15, something like that. Don't quote me on the exact date. So because it kicks in June 15, this is what happens. If you have some agentic workflows that falls outside the monthly plan, automatic overages kick in. So your workflows itself will actually keep running. You won't know this, and then you'll be charged the API rates, which is usually 20 times the actual all-you-can-eat plan. So normally you would say, hey, you're running a workflow, and it would stop and say, I'm sorry, you can't. You have to wait, 5 hours or wait till the next day. Anthropic is actually saying, no, we'll let your workflows run, but you're going to be charged overages. So people are going to get a huge bill come end of June, early July, when they actually get their bill, realizing that they're overage. So I didn't like this move. I'd rather them actually stop it and then enable some kind of opt-in that says, hey, go ahead and charge me extra. So yeah, not good on Anthropic here.
Your AI agent can now trade for you on Robinhood and buy stuff with your credit card too. As we talk about the market crashes, companies are literally giving autonomous agents direct access to your credit cards and your stock portfolios. The risk here is through the roof.
Yeah,
That's
AI
news.
John. Yeah, AI Johnny. I love this one. Reason is because, you know, the high frequency traders. I used to work at Goldman Sachs for about 7 years, and I actually built equity trading stock applications itself for a living for a long time. And it was usually reserved for rich people. With this agents coming now to typical things like Robinhood, it means that the regular person can now potentially compete with all those high net worth individuals. So democratizing finance is actually something I'm really a fan of. But keep in mind, guys, that the bots itself, this is the for year of agents. So be very careful how you're giving agents your money. You know, you may become really, 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 really poor really fast. So just keep that in mind.
All right, now I'm going to read this last story. And when I do, I want you to understand that this is an AI bubble bursting episode. So the AI bubble might burst. Here's the story. AI is learning to fly airplanes, and the aviation is starting to embrace it. The integration of machine learning into physical, high stakes environments proves that while the financial bubble might pop, these are your pilots, the real world application of this tech is only accelerating.
Excellent. I love
In
that.
the world today.
I love that. AI Johnny, when I saw this news article, I could not believe it, right? AI is actually starting the plane, taking off, flying, and actually landing back. It's just so genius. And the fact that the FAA is actually entertaining this, it's actually pretty good. I can't wait for the day to actually go into a plane that doesn't have human pilots and, just take off and land and, wherever I need to go, no big deal. I love it. This is awesome. Yeah, Johnny, this is awesome.
What a great, incredibly show. It was a necessary show. I think we should all go log into our accounts, cancel our AI subscriptions that we don't use daily, and audit our budget before prices go up again. Hey everybody, the summer camp is officially right around the corner, June and July, for $100 a week. It is great for kids 10 to 18 years old to learn these critical skills early. We will be teaching people art, we will be teaching people music, we'll be teaching people how to make movies, how to make games. It's going to be a great summer. If kids want to get into AI, this is the funnest way to do it. What an incredible season finale for the AI bubble. We've tracked the hype, the hardware, and the historical devastation. Join us on Monday as we kick off a brand new week, a brand new month, and the epic launch of the summer camp. We will be jumping into fresh technical deep dives, so you don't want to miss it. Is Monday the summer camp, or do we have another day or two?
Monday is summer camp. Yeah, Johnny. It's going to be exciting. All right, guys.
Okay.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us. These AI classes are free, and you can ask questions on Zoom anytime. If you want to sign up for a free account, go to www.airheadinstitute.ai and support us by becoming a paid pro member. Since today is Wednesday, we actually have the Airhead after school and AI office hours from today at 3 p.m. Eastern time, going on until 5 p.m. Jump in and out anytime. We can help you get tips on your AI projects or anything you're stuck on AI. Invite a friend by sharing this episode and invite them to class. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead after school program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.